PowerPoint. Going to share screen. Share. Assalamualaikum, Danis and Caca. Oh, why is going back to small again? Okay, going to make it bigger, 100%, or maybe 120. 120, okay. Suratul Qari'ah. What is Suratul Qari'ah about?
The day of judgment.
Day of Judgment. Yeah, remember last time we solved the mystery about what is Suratul Qari'ah about? It's talking about the things that will happen on Yaumul Qiyamah, or the day of judgment. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So what happened in the Yaumul Qiyamah? You remember what will happen in the Yaumul Qiyamah? They're going to be terrible noises, having our teeth measures on a scale, people become like a moth, the mountain become like a wool. What does Al-Qari'ah mean? Remember, it means striking calamity. What is special about Suratul Qari'ah? Okay, striking calamity. Who will still remember what is the meaning of striking calamity?
It is the last morning of Peppa's holiday in Italy. I'm just going.
Striking's like two things hitting each other, right? And calamity is like a very loud thunder sound and disaster that can make towns disappear, collapse, broken down. What is special about Suratul Qari'ah?
Goldie the fish. Can I telephone Goldie? Okay, Peppa.
Can somebody please turn off the sound? I think it's from, where does it come from? Okay, so what is so special about Suratul Qari'ah? It's a mystery. Because in Suratul Qari'ah, Allah asks us to solve a mystery by giving 6 clues. Does Allah give us any clues to solve the mystery?
Yes.
Yes. How many clues does Allah give us to understand what Al-Qari'ah is?
6.
Yeah, 6 clues. What are the 6 clues? Any of you remember what are the 6 clues? Okay, if you can just remember one thing, tell me. What is the clue? First clue, it is a striking calamity, like a disaster. And second clue, it is on a day. It will happen on a day. The third clue, people will be like moths. And then what is another clue about the mountains? What mountains will be like on that day?
Wool.
The mountain will be like wool. And the fifth clues, the people who have a heavy scale or lots of good deeds will be happy in Jannah. And then the last clue is the people who have a light scale will be in, where they're going to end it up. People with a light scale. They only have a few good deeds. Where are they going to end it? Yes, Afkar, correct. Jahannam. What is solution to the mystery? What is Suratul Qari'ah talking about? What is the answer?
The day of judgment.
Yeah, it's about the day of judgment. So the 6 things that we read on the top is things that happens on the day of judgment. Like it's a striking calamity. It's on a day. People will like mouth. Mountain will be like wool. And people with heavy scale will be in Jannah. People with light scale will be in Jahannam. What can we learn from Suratul Qari'ah? What do you learn from Suratul Qari'ah? Did you learn anything? You need to do a good deed or a bad deed.
Good things.
Good thing. Yeah. So the day of judgment has 3 parts. First, there will be a destruction or resurrection. Gonna be terrible noises, people running about like mountains and mountains being destroyed, and the weighing of deeds. That's why this is the most important part about the day of judgment. People with heavy going to turn up in Jannah. People with light scale going to end up in Jahannam. That's why we need to do our best to be unheavy, to will have heavy scales, because the reward is you're going to send to Jannah. And then the second thing that we learn is this day of judgment will be a very scary day, especially for people who did not listen to Allah. And nobody can help us on that day. Not even our mom, not even our dad. So we'll be alone on that day. But don't worry, since we are a good kid and since you are a good Muslim, inshallah, you will be fine on that day. Okay, the end. We're going to learn new surah today. Hello, Mikal.
Hi.
Oh, it's okay, Sasha. Just
I answered the question before.
MashaAllah. So today I'm going to give you a new surah. I just bought the new book. That's still in my phone. Let me check. We've done Al-Quraish, Al-Masad, Al-Ma'un, Al-Kafirun, Al-Ikhlas, Fatihah, Quraish. Oops, still in. Need time. I need to download the book first.
No. Why do I have to be recorded?
You can talk now because I need to download the book first. We got a new book. Let's do Suratul Fil. Okay. I know you are familiar with this surah. And I believe that you already memorized this surah. So what is this surah? Suratul Fil. Share screen.
I memorized it.
Memorize this, yeah?
Yeah, I
So
memorized.
this is a very famous surah. I know.
also memorized the story. I also memorized the story.
Yeah.
The
Suratul
story is about the elephants. So
yeah,
it was
elephant.
like this person saw traveler.
Abraha.
Abraha wanted travelers to visit his palace
Temple.
temple thing. But they mostly go to the Kaaba. So then he got some elephants and his soldiers to destroy the Kaaba. And then Allah sent birds with rock fire in their beaks, and in their beaks was the rock fire, and then the birds drop it on the birds drop it on the elephants and the soldiers.
Yeah.
And look at the ring, Justin. And
that's why the picture is a rock, a fire rock. So where the fire rocks come from? I think it's come from Jahannam, right? Come from the hell. Suratul Fil is surah number 105. We missed this surah. We supposed to learn it earlier, but I just got the book. I just bought the book yesterday. So now it's time to learn this surah. Mini Tafsir book series Suratul Fil. Quick facts about Suratul Fil. Suratul Fil was revealed in Makkah. Fil means elephant in Arabic. Suratul Fil talks about an attack on Makkah when Abraha, the Abyssinian governor of Yemen, tried to destroy the Kaaba with his army of elephants. Suratul Fil is named after Abraha elephants that would not go and destroy the Kaaba. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born the same year that the attack on Makkah happened. So what is Suratul Fil about? Suratul Fil is about the time when Abraha came with his army of men and elephant to destroy the Kaaba, but Allah protected the Kaaba from harm. Yeah. Special. Now let's learn what makes Suratul Fil so special. Can you guess what makes Suratul Fil special? Ada yang bisa tebak nggak? Apa yang membuat Suratul Fil surat yang spesial? Karena semua surat di Al-Quran itu spesial. Can any of you guess? The thing that is so special about Suratul Fil is that Suratul Fil is related to Suratul Quraish. It's related to Suratul Quraish. You still remember the Suratul Quraish? What is all about Suratul Quraish?
The Surah Al-Quraysh talks about the blessing that Allah gave to the Quraysh.
Yeah, one of the blessing is that is related with Al-Fil?
He protected them from Abraha and his elephants.
Yeah, one of the blessing is they're being protected from the elephant army. The Quraysh being protected from elephants army. These two surah both talk about how a man named Abraha brought an army of elephants to destroy the Kaabah. Allah protected the people of Makkah and the Kaabah from being destroyed by the army. This was a huge blessing. Suratul Fil and Suratul Quraish both talk about this special blessing. So that makes them very special too. Jadi ini Suratul Fil dan Suratul Quraish ya berhubungan karena sama-sama membicarakan berkah Allah yang berikan kepada kaum Quraisy, yaitu diselamatkan mereka dari tentara Abraha. Now that we have learned what is so special about Suratul Fil, let's learn even more. We're going to start by learning 5 new words from the Quran. So let's get started right now. 5 new words. I think it's gonna be easy, this one. Kaifa, it's how. Like in Arabic, Kaifa haluki, how is your doing today? Things like that. Kaifa means how. Al-Fils means elephant. Toiron, birds. Hijaratin, it's a stone or rocks. Makul means being eaten. In this case, like corn husks after being eaten by cattle. Okay, let's try to remember these 5 words. Kaifa is how, Al-Fil elephant, Tyron birds, Hijarah means stones.
I already
Done? MashaAllah, very fast. Makul means being eaten. Okay, you done?
Yes.
Should I give you more minutes? More time? No? You can do it now?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, let's just stop sharing the screen. Stop share. Okay. Okay, now what is the first word?
Kaifa.
Kaifa.
how.
What does that mean?
How.
How. Kaifa is how. The second word?
Elephant.
Yeah, elephant. What is in Arabic? What is elephant in Arabic?
Feel the elephant. I'll feel the elephant.
Yeah, and then the third word? It's also animals. What is the third word?
The birds.
Birds. What is the birds in Arabic?
Eaten.
No, no. What is birds in Arabic?
Toiron.
Toirun. Yeah. And now the fourth word is?
Stones or rocks.
Yeah. What is it, the Arabic word for that?
Hijara.
Hijara. Remember like Hajar Aswad? Hajar means just one stone. But Hijara means many stones, a lot of stones.
Yeah, it's on Kaaba. It's on Kaaba.
And then the last word is?
Eaten.
Yeah. In Arabic? Arabic word for eaten? Like in Indonesia, Indonesia is makan, right? Indonesia is makan. Arabic is makul. Makul. If Indonesia makan, in Arabic makul. Okay, done. Let's continue. That's the 5 words you learn from Suratul Fil. Now that we are ready, we need to start the right way. What is the right way to learn the surah? By saying 2 things. Let's say
A'udzubillahiminasyaitonirrajim.
Yeah, we say the isti'adzah first.
Rahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yeah, we say Allah names first because we want to remember Allah and say how great He is for giving us so many wonderful blessings. Okay, now it's time to learn more about Suratul Fil. Blessed from beginning to end. Many of the ayah in the Quran have a story behind them that tells why they were revealed. These stories are called what is the story behind the surah? What is that called? The story behind the surah is it's called Asbabun Nuzul. The story behind the revelation of Suratul Fil is blessed from beginning to end. The blessed Kaabah. You see, Allah had blessed the Kaabah since the time that it was built by Ibrahim alayhi salam. So the first person who was built Kaabah is not Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Generation of people had lived around it until the time of the Quraysh came. The Quraysh were the tribe that is a large group of people who are related to each other. So tribe means a group of people that are related to each other, who were responsible for taking care of the Kaabah and giving water to the pilgrims who visited it at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abdul Muttalib, Rasulullah's grandfather, was one of the leaders of the Quraysh. The Quraysh were famous all over Arabia because the Kaabah. As we learn in Surah Al-Quraysh, they lived in peace and prosperity. There was no other tribe that was as wealthy and as safe, all of this because of the blessed Kaabah. The neighbors of Quraysh, who want to help me reading this page? Shasha. Okay, Shasha, Nafa, and then Mikal. Okay, this page going to be Shasha, and then Nafa, and then Mikal. Okay, Shasha.
The neighbors of Quraysh. The Quraysh were friends with all the Arab tribes around them, and they traded with all the countries around them as well. But soon there would trouble with one of their neighbors. Here is how it all started.
Okay, let's continue the story. Now, Nafa.
Well,
half Nafa, half Mikal.
Okay. The Christian king of Abyssinia and Najashi sent his army to take over a country called Yemen to the south of Mecca. He wanted to take over Yemen because the Christians living there had been treated badly by their king. Dunuwas.
King's name Dunuwas. Then
Dunuwas. And Najashi's army was led by two men, Aryat and Abraha.
So not only Abraha, right? We only know Abraha, but actually there are two men, Aryat and Abraha. Okay, now Mikal.
Okay.
When Aryat
and Abraha had taken over Yemen, and Najas appointed them to be the governments of Yemen. However, they fought with each other, and Abraha's servant killed Aryat
and Abraha became the only government of Yemen.
Then
And
An-Najasi.
Teacher,
was not happy with Abraha for fighting with Arab.
teacher,
He told him that
Yes.
Abraha did not.
when is the class gonna finish?
After we finish this story,
Okay.
Abraha did not.
An-Najasi was not happy with Abraha for fighting with
Tante
Aryat.
Dara,
Abraha.
Yes,
Saudara.
Dinda. Yes.
Mau ada kelas.
Oh ya, Dinda boleh pergi sekarang.
Dinda
Okay.
pamit ya. Assalamualaikum.
Ya, Assalamualaikum. Bye, Dinda. So why only Abraha left? Because Aryat was killed by a serpent. That's why now only Abraha become governor of Yemen.
With him, so he promised to build a great church of honor and Najas.
Yeah. Abraha did not want Najasi to be angry with him. That's why he promised to build a great church in honor of An-Najasi. So where is Yemen? Okay, this is the map. So we are here. Riyadh is around here in the middle. And this is Makkah, Taif, and here Yemen. Yemen is on the south of Arabia. It's on the bottom of Arabia Peninsula. So Abraha is from Yemen. Al-Qulais and the Quraysh. An-Najasi was happy to hear this. So Abraha built the church and it was called Al-Qulais. It was covered in a beautiful decoration. It was the most wonderful building of its time. Once it was finished, Abraha decided that everyone in Yemen should visit Al-Qulais, even if they were not Christians. Now the Arab did not like this because they wanted to go to Kaaba and did not want to be told what to do. According to same people, a few young men from Quraysh who were angry about Abraha trying to stop the Arabs from going to Kaaba went to Al-Qulais, put filth in it or set a fire in it, then destroy it. Allah knows best if the young people did this, but we do know that soon after this, Abraha prepared an army and set out toward Mecca in order to destroy the Kaaba. Who will save the Kaaba? Who do you think will save the Kaaba?
Allah.
Allah. When the Arab tribes heard that Abraha was coming, they decided to fight back to save the Kaaba. The first group of Arabs that Abraham met in a battle was led by a man named Du Nafar. His army fought hard, but they lost, and Abraham kept marching towards Mecca. So before they reached Mecca, they're going to fight an army was led by a name Du Nafar. And then the second group of Arab that Abraham met in battle was led by a man named Nufail bin Habib. But his army was beaten as well. And Abraham forced Nufail to guide them towards Mecca since Abraham did not know the way. Remember, that time they don't have Google Map. Finally, Abraham reached Taif with its city not far from Mecca. The people of Taif knew they could not fight Abraham, so they did not even try. They were afraid that he would destroy their temples. But he did not. He told them that all he wanted was the Kaaba. So Abraham left Taif and continued to march towards Mecca. The Quraysh asked Allah alone for help. By now, the Quraysh knew they could not protect the Kaaba because there are two other armies before who tried to fight Abraham, but they couldn't. They lost. Now the Quraysh knew they could not protect the Kaaba. Abraham was just outside of Mecca with an army of 60,000 men and many powerful elephants ready to attack. All the other Arab tribes had tried to stop Abraham, but they were no match for him. The Quraysh knew only Allah could protect the Kaaba. Although the Quraysh worship idols, they knew that when there was something really important that they needed, they had to ask Allah alone. So at that time, even though we know Quraysh, they not only pray to Allah, right? They have also prayed to an idols. But at this time, they know their idols cannot do anything. Only Allah can help them. So with Abraha about to enter the city, they went to Kaaba, prayed to Allah to protect it, and then fled to the mountains around Makkah to wait and see what happened. So after they pray, and then they run away to the mountain. Allah saved the Kaaba. Meanwhile, Abraha was now camped right outside of Makkah. He commanded his men to capture the camels and grazing animals of the Quraysh, and then send a messengers. I think it's not the time to eating yet, yeah? Okay, thank you. We'll talk about food later on. Meanwhile, Abraha was now camped right outside of Makkah. He commanded his men to capture the camels and grazing animals of the Quraysh, and then send a messenger to Quraysh asking to see their leader. The Quraysh, I think Mikal already ready to fight the Abraha. Yeah, Mikal prepared his gun to fight Abraha. The Quraysh sent Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Rasulullah SAW, to speak with Abraha. He told Abraha that the Quraysh would not fight him. They did not have the power to do so. Abdul Muttalib, however, did want one thing. He just wanted his camels back. Abraha was surprised but agreed to return them. Then he asked Abdul Muttalib why he wanted the camels, but would not defend the Kaaba, which was more valuable. Why do you think Abdul Muttalib only asked for his camel? He doesn't ask for the Kaaba.
Because the camels is his and he has to defend them. But the Kaaba is Allah's and Allah will defend it.
Yeah, because his possession only the camels. So he only asked for the camels. But Kaaba is belong to Allah and Allah will protect the Kaaba. Abdul Muttalib told Abraha that the camels belong to him and he would take care of them. But the Kaaba belonged to Allah and Allah would defend his house, and he was right. Abraha and his army are stopped. The next morning, Abraha had his army and elephants prepared. Some scholars say there were 8 elephants. Wait. Okay. When the biggest elephant Mahmud was ready, the soldiers tried to get him walking towards Makkah, but he would not budge. If they turned him in any direction, he would get up and walk without a problem. But as soon as they turned him back to the Kaaba, he would sit down again. They tried everything to get Mahmud to move. They beat him with a stick and cut his ears, yet he still would not go to destroy the Kaaba. Even the animals will follow Allah's direction. Even the animals doesn't want to destroy the Kaaba. He knows the Kaaba belongs to Allah. The blessed ending. Then a huge flock of green and black birds appeared in the sky and started throwing stones at the army. Stones kill everyone they hit, and soon the whole army, including Abraha, was running away back towards Yemen, trying to get away. Abraha's great plan to destroy the Kaaba was stopped by an elephant and flocks of birds sent to protect the Kaaba by the orders of Allah. Suratul Fil is a reminder for the Quraysh to be thankful to Allah for his greatest blessing to them, protecting the Kaaba from being destroyed. Allah revealed Suratul Fil to remind the Quraysh that Allah is the one who sent us blessing. So we should be grateful by listening to him and being a good Muslim. Now that we know why Allah revealed Suratul Fil, let's learn what Suratul Fil says. Okay, let's recite this together. Alam tara kaifa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil.
ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. What is this?
Yeah, so the translation is, have you not considered, O Muhammad, how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? So what is kaifa means? How. And fil is elephant. Allah start by asking a question. Didn't you see how Allah deal with the people of the elephants, Abraha and his army? The Quraysh remember very well. How could they forget? All of the Quraysh remember it because they had been there at the time or had been told about it by their families. So every Quraysh remember this story. The Quraysh were so grateful to Allah for saving them from Abraha. But as time passed and they felt safe again, they got busy worshipping their idols. So Allah sent Rasulullah. When I say Rasulullah, and then what you should answer? Yeah, and reveal surah like Suratul Fil and Suratul Quraish to remind the Quraysh of how much they needed to listen to Allah. Okay, this is the second ayah. Alam yaj'al kaidahum fi tadlil.
Teacher.
ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل.
Teacher.
Yes.
You know, I use the iPad. Now I'm using the laptop. So my name is now Shahad Al-Thamali. That sound is creepy. Someone please stop that.
The sound, you mean? I don't hear you. Can somebody turn off their microphone if you want to hear another song?
Someone please mute her.
Yeah, I'm looking. Who's the one? Okay, everybody's on mute now, right?
I'm on mute.
Okay. Alam yaj'al kaidahum fi tadlil.
ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل.
Did he not make their plan into misguidance? What Allah means by this? Let's say. Allah reminded the Quraysh that he alone stopped Abraha. The Quraysh knew they had not stopped Abraha. Their idols had not stopped Abraha. And the other Arab tribes had not stopped him either. It was only Allah's commands to the elephant not move towards the Kaaba that had saved them. Allah alone had saved the Kaaba, the city of Makkah, and everything that was important to them. So Allah alone will protect them. Okay, the third ayah, wa arsala alayhim tayran ababil.
وأرسل عليهم طيرا
أبابيل.
So Tyron, what's Tyron mean?
A bird.
So bird's name Ababil. Wa arsala. Rasala means send. So Allah sent to them a bird named Ababil. Allah reminded the Quraysh that he alone destroyed Abraha. Even after the elephant refused to move, Abraha and his army would have destroyed the Kaaba a different way. The Kaaba would not have been safe with just that. Allah, who is the Lord of the Kaaba, decided to protect the Kaaba completely. Allah sent a huge flock of birds to destroy Abraha and his army. Yes, Sahad, you can type in the column chat, okay? What you want to say, you can just type it on the column chat.
Well, teacher,
Now,
are we
yes,
live in YouTube or not? Because it says.
sorry, I can't hear you properly.
Are we live in YouTube? Because up it says live.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
okay, we continue.
We are not live right now.
Okay. ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل.
أرميهم بحجارة من سجيل.
How can birds destroy an army? Well, Allah tells us exactly how it happened in this ayah. The flocks of birds that Allah sent were no ordinary birds. This bird had a weapon to use in fight against Abraha. What was this powerful weapon brought by birds that destroy an army of 60,000 men?
Rock.
Stone. Each bird carried 3 stones, 1 stone in each claw and the third in their beak. You might think these were big, heavy stones, but they were not. The stones were the size of pebbles or chickpeas and were made of a hard-baked clay. Whenever a soldier was hit by one of these stones, he would quickly become sick and die. Some scholars say that the stone caused the person's body to fall apart in pieces. Others say the stone gave a sickness which killed the soldier after they left Mecca as they retreated back to Yemen, but Allah knows best. What's important is that Abraha and his army were destroyed completely, and the Kaaba was saved due to the flocks of birds with the stones that Allah sends to protect it. So even though a small stone, it make a great impact to the army. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. And he made them like eaten straw. Who is them?
Abraham and his army.
Abraha army. So they're in terrible condition. Allah described Abraha and his army. Allah does not just tell us that he destroyed Abraha. Why my screen is paused? Okay. Allah does not just tell us that he destroyed Abraha and his army. That is not enough to teach a lesson to anyone who may read Surah Al-Fil later. Allah wants us to imagine what the destruction of Abraha and his army actually looked like. So he described it for us in the last verse of Surah Al-Fil.
Sorry,
Allah
Tante
tells us that
Dara,
the
I got
birds
disconnected.
Got disconnected?
You disconnected?
Okay. Allah tells us that after the birds attacked the army with stones, the army looked like cornfield that has been eaten up, for example, by cow. What a terrible end. Abraha and his army tried to escape, but they could not get away from the punishment of Allah. The elephants and the birds had stopped the army of Abraha by Allah's will. Now the Kaaba was completely safe, alhamdulillah. By destroying Abraha and his army, Allah protected the Kaaba, showed the Quraysh how grateful they should be, and show everyone who might think of attacking the Kaaba, they would not get away with it. So what is Suratul Fil about? Suratul Fil is about the time when Abraha came with his army of men and the elephants to destroy the Kaaba. Suratul Fil tells us about how Allah protected the Kaaba. Suratul Fil reminded the Quraysh that they should be grateful to Allah for saving them and the Kaaba by listening to Rasulullah SAW and becoming Muslim. The end. So even though you already know the story, maybe by your heart, this is a reminder again, how powerful Allah, how Allah gives us blessing. That's why we need to be always being grateful to Allah, listening to Rasulullah and becoming a good Muslim. So any question or you want to add something?
No, I don't have a question, but I got disconnected 6 times
Oh,
because
because
of the connection. It says connection is
of the
unstable.
connection.
Yeah,